Ah, Hollywood, a land of dreams and a land of dreamers, where artists of every stripe gather together to make motion pictures that entertain and inspire, and where a movie star can assault a comedian on live TV and then get a standing ovation a half hour later as he accepts an award and proclaims,
"I'm being called on in my life to love people."
Oh, wow!
Love people.
Before the 94th Academy Awards took place on Sunday, March 27th, 2022, I expected to crank out a video recap, running down the winners, highlighting any surprises and milestones, and giving you my thoughts on the ceremony itself, especially following what I consider to be last year's disaster of a ceremony. What I didn't expect was to be faced with a ceremony that somehow made last year's seem quaint by comparison, a new low for the quote-unquote biggest night in Hollywood, marred, overshadowed, and ultimately hijacked by what I consider to be the craziest thing to ever happen at the Oscars.
That was a greatest night in the history of television.
Now, I will still discuss the winners and the ceremony as a whole, but unfortunately, I feel like I have to start by addressing what has become known as the slap heard round the world. At this point, there have been so many reports, reactions, interviews, editorials, hypotheticals, tweets, jokes, and memes that I can't help but wonder if we're not all sick and tired of hearing about it. For that reason, I neither want to or feel like I need to offer a detailed play-by-play of what went down and the aftermath. It's been well documented and shared all over the internet. What's more, the incident itself and who was more in the wrong between Will Smith and Chris Rock has somehow become incredibly polarizing. Some see a cut and dry case of violence is never the answer. Assault is assault, period. Others see a man defending his wife in public to an insensitive comedian who had it coming.
I would do anything for my girl.
There has also been an enormous amount of contextualizing. Jada suffers from alopecia, an autoimmune disease that causes hair loss. While she has previously shared her struggle and helped raise awareness, there has since been reporting that Chris Rock did not know about Jada's condition. People have shared an earlier instance of Chris Rock making jokes at Jada's expense, specifically when Rock hosted the 88th Academy Awards on February 28th, 2016.
Jada's gonna boycott the Oscars. Jada boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited.
In both the interest of time and my own sanity, I'm going to simply and briefly offer my personal thoughts on the matter and move on with the purpose of this video. As a pacifist who feels that nothing should be off limits for comedians, I think it's pretty clear where I stand on Chris Rock's senseless joke and Will Smith's violent outburst. There's a huge difference between an insult and an assault. It was an unnecessary reaction to and an escalation of a moment that we could have, would have, and should have moved on from. The great irony is that Will Smith striking Chris Rock and then demanding him to keep his wife's name out of his mouth ensured that everybody would be talking about Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. An evening that could have, would have, and should have been a joyous and proud moment for Will Smith and everyone in his corner, a culminating achievement for his decades of entertaining and emotional performances, was at the last moment, literally in the final hour, tainted by his own actions. For many, myself included, we just couldn't get past what we had seen transpire on stage shortly before, and thought that Will's speech only made the incident worse, justifying his unlawful physical violence by comparing himself to Richard Williams and the gross hypocrisy in his proclamation of love. As someone who grew up watching and admiring Will Smith, a great actor who had somehow never won an Oscar before, to see him in this moment, under these circumstances, was incredibly disappointing. I'm also disappointed in the Academy, which, let's be honest, is nothing new. But this time, they have opened themselves up to a whole new area of scrutiny. The fact that they seemingly did little to nothing to intervene during the situation or for the rest of the ceremony is unbelievable. And then, after the show, they had the gall to tweet, "The Academy does not condone violence of any form." The day after the ceremony, the Academy opened a formal review of the incident and Will Smith issued an apology. On Friday, April 1st, 2022, Will Smith resigned from Academy membership, which means he can no longer vote for the Oscars, but can still be nominated, attend future ceremonies, and keep his award. The Academy's formal review will continue. Unfortunately, this is now what the 94th Academy Awards will be known for, the Oscars where Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, which I suppose will make them more memorable than most years, but not in a good way. He completely stole the spotlight from the well-earned win of Summer of Soul in particular, and cast a shadow on every award that came before and after. The truth of the matter is that Will Smith didn't just ruin that night for himself, he disrupted it for everyone. Even before the slap took place, I would have had plenty to say and criticize about this year's Oscars, so let's focus on the rest of the show. The ceremony kicked off from Compton, a sentence I never thought I'd say, with the pre-recorded performance of Beyoncé's Be Alive from King Richard, before taking us to the Dolby Theater, where somebody thought it would be a good idea for DJ Khaled to introduce the hosts.
Hold up. Let me introduce the three queens, right?
Yes, for the first time in 4 years, the Oscars had hosts in the trio of Amy Schumer, Wanda Sykes, and Regina Hall.
This year, the Academy hired 3 women to host because it's cheaper than hiring 1 man.
When these 3 were announced, there was a lot of head scratching and worse. I don't have strong feelings either way about how they did in their hosting duties. I'm more critical of the things the showrunners had them do.
I have a movie, and no one has ever seen this movie.
Never been seen.
Not even by the director.
Uh-oh.
Now, I got a screener of The Last Duel.
Never been seen.
Never been seen.
For what it's worth, Amy Schumer tried to alleviate some of the tension in the room after the slap, where Will Smith was still in attendance like nothing had happened.
I've been getting out of that Spider-Man costume. Did I miss anything? There's like a different vibe in here.
Going into the Oscars, the biggest controversy was the Academy's decision to present 8 of the awards during the first hour of the ceremony, which would not be televised. A figurative slap in the face to all the nominees in the selected categories: animated short, live action short, documentary short, film editing, makeup and hairstyling, production design, sound, original score, and film editing. Instead, the announcing of the winners and their acceptance speeches were to be edited into the broadcast in an effort to save time. This news was rightfully criticized, but the Academy still moved forward with the decision, and I think it was as awkward, discourteous, and unnecessary as we all feared. I'm so glad they were able to save a few minutes to make time for excruciating bits like this.
Now, I see we've got another bad boy on our list. Let's see, is that Jacob Elordi? Is that how you say it? Elordi? I've seen you on Euphoria, and yes, you are legal. I'm sorry. You are positive.
Apparently, the secondary theme for this year's Oscars was sexual harassment isn't funny unless women are thirsting after men.
He's feeling good, everybody. Get on over here. Oh boy, wow, this is a lot.
It's worth pointing out that they failed in their goal of a streamlined show. The broadcast ran 3 hours and 40 minutes, which was still longer than the last few ceremonies. In the weeks leading up to the broadcast, the Academy also announced the inclusion of 2 fan-voted categories to be conducted over Twitter: the Oscars Fan Favorite to crown the favorite movie of 2021, and Oscar Cheer Moment to celebrate the most cheer-worthy movie moment ever. Hilariously, both categories were hijacked by Zack Snyder fans, with Army of the Dead winning the favorite movie of 2021, and The Flash Enters the Speed Force from Zack Snyder's Justice League winning the most cheer-worthy movie moment ever. What a time to be alive. What else should I say about the ceremony? Sadly, somebody stole Timothée Chalamet's shirt. Some of the presenters made no damn sense at all. I will admit the 60 years of James Bond montage was great. The Godfather 50th anniversary montage was not. Though it was nice to see Coppola, De Niro, and Pacino reunited on stage, no matter how briefly. The In Memoriam was certainly a choice. And they forgot a handful of people as usual. In general, it was nice to see the return of clips, especially when announcing the nominees of the acting categories.
It seems they're circling just me, not you.
As far as ratings go, Oscar viewership increased by 60% for 16.6 million viewers, up from last year's all-time low of 10.4 million viewers, which sounds good until you realize it's still the second lowest viewership on record. Also, that increase isn't actually due to the slap, as viewership spiked about an hour earlier in the broadcast. As to what contributed to the increase, it could be any number of things. Maybe it was the return of having hosts, though I doubt these three were a particular ratings draw. Maybe the fact that a successful blockbuster like Dune was among the Best Picture nominees. Maybe it was those ridiculous fan favorite categories. Maybe it was having 4 of the original song nominees performed during the show, or the inclusion of We Don't Talk About Bruno, remixed though it was. Or perhaps it was inevitable, nowhere to go but up after last year's late ceremony, which was heavily altered for pandemic protocol. Whatever the case, it'll be interesting to see if they continue to climb out of this hole. Kubrick knows they have a lot of lessons to learn from this year's ceremony. Now let's shift gears to talk about the winners themselves. I'll run through these in the order they were announced. First, the 8 that were awarded during the pre-show. Dune won for sound, a fitting start for the most awarded film of the night that would go on to dominate the technical categories as predicted. The Queen of Basketball won documentary short. The Windshield Wiper won animated short, a pleasant surprise as that was my favorite of the nominees in a very strong category. As far as my predictions go, this is the first of 3 that I got wrong, predicting that Robin would win. Riz Ahmed won for his powerful live-action short, The Long Goodbye. Hans Zimmer won a long-deserved second Oscar for his incredible score for Dune. He first won in 1995 for The Lion King. Zimmer was on tour in Amsterdam, though he uploaded an acceptance speech to Twitter from the hotel bar, where it was 2 a.m. Joe Walker won for his editing on Dune, which also picked up production design. And The Eyes of Tammy Faye won makeup and hairstyling, because of course it did.
Oh yeah, this is who I am.
Then the broadcast began with Ariana DeBose winning Supporting Actress, becoming the first Afro-Latin American and the first queer woman of color to win for acting. What's more, DeBose won for her role as Anita in West Side Story, which Rita Moreno also won in 1962.
I can't believe it!
This is the first time that 2 actresses have won for playing the same role. 2 pairs of actors have previously pulled off this feat, Marlon Brando and Robert De Niro for playing Vito Corleone, and Heath Ledger and Joaquin Phoenix for playing the Joker. Greg Fraser won for his cinematography on Dune, which also won visual effects. Encanto won animated feature, and then one of the better moments of the night before it all went south,
Troy Kutzer.
Troy Kotzer won Supporting Actor for Coda, presented by and looked on by the adorably sweet Ye Jong-eun. It was a great moment and a great speech. Kotzer became the first deaf male actor to win. The first deaf performer to win an Oscar was actually his Coda co-star Marlee Matlin back in 1987 for Children of a Lesser God. Matlin also became the youngest actor to win an Oscar, a record she still holds to this day. Then my favorite of this year's nominated films, Drive My Car, won International Feature Film for Japan. Writer-director Ryusuke Hamaguchi accepted, despite the band trying to play him off mid-speech.
Would like to just a moment.
Costume designer Jenny Bevan won for her work on Cruella, and then Kenneth Branagh won for his original screenplay for Belfast. My second incorrect prediction, as I thought Paul Thomas Anderson would finally win an Oscar for Licorice Pizza. But hey, at least Don't Look Up didn't win, right? Writer-director Sean Heder won adapted screenplay for Coda, and then Summer of Soul won documentary feature. Not only was this win tarnished by Will Smith, Chris Rock made a thoughtless quip when announcing the winner.
Amir Thompson and 4 white guys.
Amir Thompson and 4 white guys, which was not only disrespectful but inaccurate. Producer Joseph Patel is South Asian. Billie Eilish and Phineas O'Connell won original song for No Time to Die. Then Kevin Costner took to the stage to present the award for directing and honestly gave one of the best speeches of the night himself. If you missed it in all the chaos, I highly recommend rewatching that moment, which led to Jane Campion winning for The Power of the Dog, becoming only the 3rd woman to ever win for directing after Kathryn Bigelow for The Hurt Locker and Chloe Zhao for Nomadland, making this the first ever back-to-back wins for female directors. Campion is now the first woman to win an Oscar for both directing and screenwriting, which she won for The Piano in 1994. The Power of the Dog is also the first film to only win directing since The Graduate in 1968. And then Will Smith won lead actor for King Richard, Jessica Chastain won lead actress for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and the biggest award of the night, Best Picture.
Okay, Coda.
In my final predictions video, I discussed the strong likelihood that Coda would win the top prize, but I still kept my prediction for The Power of the Dog. Coda's win is historic, the first time a film with a predominantly deaf cast has won Best Picture. It's also the first film distributed by any streaming service to win Best Picture. 5 years ago, who would have predicted that it would have been Apple TV+? It's hard to believe, but it's also the first film to premiere at the Sundance Film Festival to win Best Picture. While I ranked Coda number 7 out of this year's 10 nominees in terms of personal preference, I'm not upset to see it win. I quite liked Coda despite all of its cliched plot points. I think its historical achievements are meaningful and important. While I certainly think other films deserve to win more, I'm just glad I don't live in the universe where Don't Look Up won. How will Coda stand the test of time as a Best Picture winner? Let's check back on this and all the other winners 10 years from now. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell so you'll know when I upload that video in 2032. All in all, I got 20 out of 23 on my predictions, because honestly, there were hardly any surprise winners this year. On the other side of the fence, Netflix had the most to lose, and they did. For the third year in a row, they had topped every other studio with a whopping 27 nominations, but only one of those actually came to fruition with Jane Campion's win for The Power of the Dog, which, going into the Oscars, was the single most recognized film with 12 nominations. In my predictions video, I commented on how unlikely it seemed that this film might only win 2, but it was even more dire than that. This is actually becoming something of a trend for Netflix's big Oscar contenders. Both Mank and The Irishman had 10 nominations apiece. Mank won 2, The Irishman won 0. As ubiquitous and almighty as Netflix appears to be in this industry, they just can't seem to win over the Academy, and Apple beating them to Best Picture is a surprising and substantial defeat. Continuing with the most nominated films, Dune was the runner-up with 10, and as predicted, it won all of its crafts and technical awards save for hair and makeup and costume design. With 6 Oscars, it was the most awarded film of the night. Tied for the third most nominations was Belfast and West Side Story with 6 apiece. They each picked up a single win. Only 3 films won multiple Oscars: Dune with 6, Coda with 3, and The Eyes of Tammy Faye with 2. Those last 2 winning everything they were nominated for. At the beginning of this award season, who'da thunk Tammy Faye would walk away with more Oscars than The Power of the Dog? Focusing solely on the winners almost makes this year's Oscars seem like a return to normalcy, before factoring in all of the miscalculations of the ceremony and the now infamous altercation at the center of it. And while I know the slap has received the most attention, and feel free to weigh in on it if you'd like, I would love to know what you thought about the ceremony itself. The winners, the losers, how you did on your predictions, or anything else on your mind. Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you down there. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to Cineflect for video essays, film lists, and more.
I got this!
And click that bell next to the subscribe button if you'd like to be notified anytime I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. For Cineflect, I'm JS Lewis. Until next time, watch something good.